I'd been in a relationship with Sophia for 5 years. To save her family, I became her assistant, handling every aspect of the company's affairs. Yet, her friends mocked me for living off her, and she never bothered to defend me. Sophia missed our engagement party to throw a welcome-back banquet for her first love. That night, standing outside the private room, I overheard her close friend ask, "Aren't you worried that James will be angry about the sudden cancellation of the engagement?" Sophia laughed and said, "Don't worry. Men who cling are easy to appease." At that moment, I made up my mind to leave. On the day I left the country, Sophia, dressed in a wedding gown, sped to the airport in an attempt to stop me and propose. But this time, I didn't wait for her. The story is about to begin, so I like to remember to click to subscribe. I didn't wait for Sophia at the rehearsal dinner, and I couldn't get through to her on the phone. Mark joked, "Sophia must be having second thoughts, huh?" I responded with a bitter smile, "Probably." Mark said indignantly, "You're still in the mood to joke? If you ask me, you shouldn't marry her or keep clinging to her like this." I couldn't blame him. I did seem like a clinger to Sophia. Sophia was strong-willed and wouldn't consider my feelings when she was upset. But I knew she was the apple of her family's eye, and her spoiled nature was understandable. As a man, I should have been more accommodating. Besides, I was an orphan sponsored by her family. After graduating from college, I became her assistant. Sophia thought I wanted the job, but what I really wanted was to be by her side. The first time I saw her at the orphanage, I was smitten. Sophia was as beautiful as a princess, and I was too shy to look her in the eye. Yet, she smiled and handed me a gardenia, introducing herself, "I'm Sophia. I hope you like the flower I gave you." At that moment, she became my first love and the only one I would ever have. I carefully preserved the petals of that flower between the pages of my books, just as I carefully guarded my love for her in my heart. Even knowing that her company was in a mess, I turned down offers from major corporations and stayed by her side to help. I willingly became her secret boyfriend and subordinate for 5 years, helping her secure her position. Her friends, unaware of my contributions, thought I was incompetent and just a clinger. I knew Sophia valued her pride, so I never explained myself to them. Over the years, I loved her, got used to looking up to her, and was willing to endure and silently support her. But I'm human, and I can be disappointed. One-sided giving can be exhausting and lead to thoughts of giving up. So, I contacted the hotel manager and canceled the engagement party. If I'm not mistaken, Sophia is now on a flight to Los Angeles. Last night, around midnight, Sophia's first love called. I heard Sophia call him David. It was hard to imagine that someone who usually gets so upset in the morning was so gentle and concerned, asking him what had happened. I didn't know what he said, but I heard Sophia's anxious voice from the dressing room, full of worry and care. Before she came out, she accidentally knocked over my glass. When I woke up in the morning, she was gone, leaving only shards of glass on the floor. I arrived at the hotel as usual to prepare for the engagement rehearsal. But I lost my bet. The handsome man who was always mentioned by Sophia's friends as more excellent, romantic, and talented than me, the man she had a crush on in college but never had the chance to confess to before he left the country, was someone I couldn't beat in 5 years. To be honest, I was just exhausted. The next day, when I arrived at the company, I could feel the inquisitive gazes of everyone. At noon, passing by the break room, I overheard the employees gossiping about me. "Do you think James the assistant failed to rise to power? In my opinion, it's a mismatch. Even if they did get married, they'd end up divorced sooner or later. But I think James the assistant is quite handsome and very gentlemanly. What's the use? If he were really capable, he wouldn't still be an assistant after 5 years. It sounds nice to call him James the assistant, but in reality, he's just a lackey, relying on being a clinger to get by in the company. Yeah, our Lady Sophia is a top-notch talent. Since she took over the family business, the company has grown bigger and bigger, and it's set to go public in just a couple of years. How many people can achieve that? It's hard to believe she would fall for a gold digger. Fortunately, she's come to her senses now. For 5 years, such rumors have been circulating in the company. I don't believe Sophia is unaware, she just doesn't care about my feelings because she doesn't love me that much. That evening, I worked late until midnight, and to my surprise, Sophia actually came back. I thought she would apologize to me. After all, missing the engagement party was inexcusable. But to my astonishment, Sophia indignantly asked me, "Why did you directly cancel the engagement party? Didn't I tell Emily to let you know that I had an urgent matter to attend to abroad and that the engagement party would be postponed? Do you have a misunderstanding about the word postpone?" Oh, I remembered that I did receive a call from her personal assistant yesterday afternoon, but I didn't want to postpone it, especially not for that man. What if he calls her again for the next engagement party? I restrained my urge to question Sophia. I didn't want to argue with her. Recently, with all the preparations for the engagement, there had been a backlog of work, and I was exhausted. I chose a more dignified way to put it. Sophia, I think we both need to calm down. After all, marriage is not a game. It's not too late to set a new engagement date once we've both thought it through. Sophia was still not convinced. If she could miss the engagement party, what about the wedding? I'm not that worthless to let my dignity be trampled on. James, what do you mean? Sophia glared at me, her arms crossed defensively. Don't you know that my father's health is deteriorating and he's been pressuring me? Do you know how he scolded me today? Since you decided to cancel it, you should take responsibility instead of leaving me to clean up the mess. Sophia's tone was terrible, and I finally couldn't hold back my anger. Clean up the mess for me? Wasn't it you who couldn't let go of James? You even skipped your own engagement party for him. Did you care about your father's feelings at that time? Sophia sneered and continued, I went abroad to see him because there was something important. Our relationship is completely innocent, not as sordid as you think. I'm not the type to cheat. I shouted, how important could it be? Even if it was more important than our engagement party, why couldn't you tell me in advance? Did I have no say in it? Even afterward, I didn't deserve an explanation, only to be questioned by you? Sophia retorted indignantly, how could I tell you in advance? It was an emergency. Didn't I have Emily inform you? Why are you making a fuss out of nothing? Is that all you think about, love? Are you love-struck? I wanted to laugh. Didn't she know that all I thought about was how to help her seize power in the Sophia family group and how to revive the family business? Ever since her father sponsored my education and medical treatment, I dedicated myself entirely to the Sophia family group. I sneered and said, Sophia, you know very well whether I'm love-struck or not. Sophia's eyes turned red as she spoke with a sense of grievance. Then could you please tone down your possessiveness and stop being so suspicious all the time? It's really annoying. Her words made me feel like I was drowning, unable to catch my breath. Did Sophia, for another man, abandon our engagement party, and now I was being paranoid and annoying? In an instant, it felt as if I had been stabbed in the heart. I didn't know what to say, my mind went completely blank. Whatever, I said weakly. Sophia pushed the vase on the table to the ground and stormed upstairs, leaving behind the words, you sleep in the guest room. I don't want to see you. I sat on the living room sofa for a long time, not going upstairs to coax Sophia as I usually would. In every argument we had, I was the one who would give in first, trying every possible way to appease her. Because I was a man, and more importantly, because I loved her more. I used to think that I would love Sophia for a very long time, but now I realized that love could also be gradually consumed, in every moment when it was not reciprocated. Sadness and sorrow overwhelmed me like a tidal wave. I cleaned up the shards on the floor, and as I passed by Sophia's room, I heard her playing games with her first love. David, you're so amazing. You got another kill. David, come save me. David, are you feeling better now? How about another round? So, Sophia knew how to comfort people, just not me. At that moment, I felt dizzy and disoriented, as if the floor was warping and becoming a black hole, swallowing me whole. Why did Sophia always act as if nothing had happened after hurting me? Would she keep treating me this way if I didn't give in? What exactly did I do wrong? I just couldn't understand. And so, for the first time, Sophia and I fell into a cold war. At the company, she wouldn't initiate any conversation with me. If there were any issues, she would have someone else convey her messages to me. Documents that required her signature would also be handed to her through intermediaries. At home, we didn't speak to each other and continued to sleep in separate rooms. I used to think such an oppressive and uncomfortable atmosphere was unimaginable, but now that it had happened, it seemed bearable. Disappointment accumulated to the point where I no longer had any new expectations. I didn't expect Sophia to realize that I could get hurt. I didn't expect her to notice the pain I had suppressed, as well as the compromises and concessions I had made for love. So when Sophia missed our engagement party, my first feeling wasn't pain, but numbness. One day, Sophia left work early, but there was an urgent project at the company, and I stayed late, working until after midnight. Before I could finish, I received her call. Pick me up at the usual place, she said, not giving me a chance to refuse before hanging up. Sophia had a personal assistant and a driver, she didn't need me to pick her up. The club she frequented was safe, and besides, we were still in a Cold War. My instinct told me it wouldn't be good. But after a moment of hesitation, I went anyway. I was worried that Sophia might have drunk too much and was hanging out with the wrong crowd. It was my responsibility, after all, to ensure her safety. When I arrived at the club's private room, the door was slightly ajar, and I could hear the voices inside. Sophia, aren't you worried that James will be angry about the sudden cancellation of the engagement? Don't worry. Men who cling are easy to appease. Yeah, I've always thought he's just a dog kept by your family. Sophia didn't refute them. At that moment, it felt as if the last piece of my heart, which loved Sophia, had been ripped out and died completely. Sophia, it's my fault. If I hadn't called you, you wouldn't have flown to Los Angeles out of worry, someone said. Don't say that. I was happy you called me, Sophia replied. There were cheers and laughter around them. What was the call about? Tell us too. Why didn't you call us, but only Sophia? Don't we count as your friends? David, you haven't been back to the country for 7 years. Did you come back this time because you heard about Sophia's engagement and wanted to steal her away? Come on, admit it. Do you have ill intentions towards our Sophia? Sophia interjected, stop teasing David, or I'll get angry. Okay, with Sophia here to protect him, we can't afford to upset James. I found it absurd that she only got angry at this point. When they made fun of me for having bad teeth and insinuated that I was living off her, why didn't she defend me? The first time I met her friends, they made fun of my counterfeit clothes, and she didn't stand up for me either. Sophia just told me that her friends were straightforward and meant no harm. But Sophia knew very well that I didn't buy those counterfeit clothes out of vanity, I simply didn't recognize the brands. Why didn't she give me a chance to explain? The dignity I carefully maintained was trampled on by her friends, made worthless. Later, when I saw the shirt and tie she gave me, I would forget the hurt and fall deeper in love, not because of the gift's value, but because I was touched that she cared about my self-esteem. In this relationship, I got used to putting Sophia on a pedestal, always prioritizing her feelings. So no matter who was right or wrong, whenever we fought, I was the one who apologized. No wonder they called me a dog. I did act like a dog without any dignity. Sophia probably asked me to come over today to use her friends to make me realize my place, to let me know that I didn't deserve to be in a cold war with her and that I should grovel and apologize. But she was wrong. In the past, I gave in because I cared about her. Now, I don't care anymore. As I was about to turn and leave, Mia, one of Sophia's friends, walked up to me. James, why didn't you go in? Were you eavesdropping at the door? Her voice was loud enough to stop the cheerful noise inside the room. In the past, I would have felt embarrassed and awkward, but now I simply said, you guys gossip about others every day. Is such unproductive content worth eavesdropping on? Sorry, I'm not interested. I don't share any common topics with you, so I don't want to spoil the fun by going in. Mia seemed surprised by my response. As I was about to leave, Sophia called out from inside, James, come in. I didn't move. Mia looked at me triumphantly, then pushed past me and went in. Sophia shouted, don't make me repeat myself. I didn't stay because I wanted to keep clinging to her. I just didn't want to have a public showdown. Even without love, there was still a sense of gratitude. If it weren't for their family's support, I, an orphan with congenital heart disease, might have died long ago. I turned around and walked in, seeing the legendary David, Sophia's first love. I didn't expect him to be so handsome, with fair skin, delicate features, and a silver-white hair that looked even better than a movie star's. He just seemed a bit weak. No wonder Sophia had a crush on him in college but never dared to confess. Hey, snap out of it. I know our David the superstar is good-looking, but you don't have to stare like that, do you? David smiled at me slightly. Don't listen to them. I'm not a superstar, I'm just a small-time painter. I knew this because the starry sky painting he gave Sophia was hanging in her study. David smiled and said to me, you must be James. I'm David. Nice to meet you. If it weren't for the challenge in his eyes, I might have thought it was a friendly smile. I responded indifferently, Sophia, with a cold expression, said to me, since you're here, have a seat. The welcome party for David isn't over yet. You can wait. She was sitting on one side with James, and the others didn't offer me a seat either. So I took a seat in the corner. Everyone treated me as if I were invisible. In the past, I would have felt extremely uncomfortable, fearing that her friends would look down on me and that I would embarrass Sophia. Because I didn't want Sophia to be unhappy, even if I didn't like her friends, I would try to be friendly. But sometimes, when you care too much, you act impulsively and only realize later that for these idle rich kids, the more eager you are, the more you devalue yourself. My attempts at friendliness were seen as sycophantic. But now I was glad to be left alone. In the undisturbed corner, I took out my phone and dealt with company matters. At that moment, they were playing a game of passing notes with their mouths, making a lot of noise. I glanced over in disgust and happened to see the note David was passing to Sophia drop suddenly, causing their lips to accidentally touch. David immediately stepped back and said shyly, "Sophia, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's okay," Sophia said, her smile looking a bit forced. "It's just a game." She seemed to be trying to convince herself. I watched her nervous demeanor from across the crowd and gave a self-mocking smile. "Ah, you two lost. Come on, draw a dare and accept the punishment. Look into each other's eyes and sing a love song. Hurry up." Ah, I shipped them so hard. They looked perfect together. In the past, I might have felt hurt, but now I just felt disgusted, so disgusted that I wanted to vomit. Sophia looked at David with affection, her ears turning red. She looked like she was in the throes of a passionate love affair, something I hadn't seen in a long time. Over the past 2 years, as the company grew better, Sophia became more impatient with me. I still remember the first year I joined the company. We were working late on New Year's Eve. I told her to go home and rest, but she insisted on staying with me. At midnight, the lights in the office building suddenly went out. Sophia stood on the balcony of the 30th floor, holding a firework, and said to me with a smile, "James, Happy New Year. I hope you'll never be happy without me, year after year." Her confession was so domineering. Suddenly, snowflakes began to fall. Sophia, blushing, asked me, "James, will you stay by my side forever?" I nodded and said, "Yes." The moment Sophia ran towards me with the firework in her hand and threw herself into my arms, I truly felt like I had the whole world in my arms. I had seen her love for me, and naturally, I could also sense her growing impatience with me. Many times, I didn't know the reason, but now it was clear. When the music ended, David suddenly held the microphone and said in my direction, "James, don't get the wrong idea. We were just playing a game and lost." I swallowed my harsh words and said, "Sure, go ahead and play however you want." Sophia suddenly sneered, "James, what are you being sarcastic about?" I didn't understand. I had been so magnanimous, so why was she still picking a fight? But this time, I couldn't tolerate it anymore. "If you think I'm in the way, I can leave and give you some space," I said, standing up directly. Sophia's face darkened even more. She threw the microphone to the ground and said, "Since you feel so idle and uninvolved, come sit here. David, do me a favor and make room for James." David clearly hesitated for a moment, then forced a smile at me. "You two lovebirds should definitely sit together." I could see his teeth grinding, his hostility towards me had been obvious all night. I wanted to leave, but Sophia pulled me down to sit between them. Since they both seemed to have feelings for each other, why didn't they just get together and save me the trouble of thinking of a breakup speech? Now, making me sit in the middle felt like I was part of their game, which made me feel even more disgusted. My stomach cramped, and I realized I had forgotten to eat while working late, and my gastritis might have flared up. Just as I was about to tell Sophia that I wanted to leave, she suddenly pushed a glass of wine in front of me, with ice cubes inside. Sophia said with a hint of petulance, "I lost the game, so you drink for me." I frowned. She knew very well that my gastritis was severe and that I couldn't drink alcohol. In the first 3 years, I had drunk quite a bit to shield her from alcohol, which had severely damaged my stomach. In the past 2 years, as the company flourished, I could simply say I was allergic to alcohol during business dinners, and no one would press me. Sophia was doing this on purpose. I looked up at her and asked, "Why?" I genuinely didn't understand why Sophia was treating me this way. Even if she didn't love me anymore, why did she have to hurt me? What exactly had I done wrong? I had been by her side for 5 years, working late nights, drinking, and exhausting myself to save the Sophia family's business and grow the company. I hadn't claimed any credit or even the money I deserved. If it had been anyone else, they would have taken a significant share of the company by now. I realized my mistake was that I wanted nothing but her love. "Is it so hard to drink a glass of wine for me?" Sophia coldly looked at me. "Is being with me that unbearable for you?" A silent tension filled the air. Without a word, I picked up the wine glass and drank it. Then, Sophia lost the next round and the one after that, and I drank the second and third glasses. My stomach ached more and more, and sweat soaked my back, but I endured it because I knew it would be the last time. I felt Sophia seemed to get angrier, and I didn't understand why. Wasn't this what she wanted? Seeing me in such a miserable state should have been exactly what she intended. What was she angry about? David, sitting next to me, suddenly spoke up, "Sophia, it seems James can't hold his drink. His face is turning pale. How about I drink for you?" I would have been grateful, but Sophia said, "No need. You've been catching a cold and are still on medication. It's not good to drink." David gave me an apologetic smile, "Sorry, Sophia is worried about my health. I can't help you out." I thought to myself, this guy was the so-called green tea man from the internet. How could such a man not be despised? I couldn't stay any longer and directly picked up the entire bottle of wine from the table, saying to Sophia, I know you're angry with me. Here's a deal, you don't have to pour me wine one glass at a time. You want my life? Fine, I'll give it to the Sophia family. Then I drank straight from the bottle. The fiery liquor continuously irritated my aching stomach. Cough, 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 I choked and coughed violently. Just as I was about to finish coughing and continue drinking, everything went black, and I collapsed. In a daze, I seemed to hear the shocked cries around me, James is vomiting blood. Call an ambulance. I felt my hand being tightly held, and it seemed to be raining. Raindrops fell on my face. James, wake up. Don't sleep. The ambulance is coming. Please, I beg of you. James, wake up. I'm sorry. It sounded like Sophia's voice. It couldn't be. In the 5 years we were together, Sophia had never apologized to me. It must have been a hallucination as I was losing consciousness. The next morning, when I woke up to the smell of disinfectant, I found Sophia sleeping by my bedside, her hand still tightly holding mine. In the past, I might have been moved, but now, I felt nothing. At this moment, I realized that I truly didn't love her anymore, the feeling of being smitten was gone. I slowly pulled my hand away, but Sophia suddenly woke up. She seemed to have hardly slept at all, her eyes red and swollen. I sighed and said, I'm fine now. You should go rest. It's okay, I'll stay with you. I had some abalone porridge sent over so you can have some when you wake up, she said, opening the meal box on the table, scooping a spoonful, and blowing on it before bringing it to my lips. I waved my hand, suppressing the nausea in my stomach, and said, put it there for now. I'm not hungry. Sophia looked stunned and said sarcastically, are you still angry with me? I responded with a bitter smile, no, it's just that I really hate seafood. The one who loves seafood isn't me. James, I didn't know your gastritis was this severe. If I had known, I wouldn't have let you drink last night. I was really out of line this time, and I'm sorry. You've been giving me the cold shoulder for so long. That's enough punishment for me, right? Let's make up. I promise it won't happen again like last time at the engagement party. Sophia poked my cheek, her tone playful and her eyes smiling as she looked at me. I'll stay right here until you get better. If you need anything, just let me know. James, can you let go of your anger, please? I was stunned. I didn't expect Sophia to apologize or try to coax me. It was the first time. But I didn't feel any happiness at all. Sophia looked at me, waiting for my response, but I couldn't say anything. It was all too late. As I was at a loss for words, Sophia's phone suddenly rang. She glanced at it, hesitated for a second, and then stood up, heading for the door. David, don't worry, I'm on my way. After hanging up, she seemed to remember me and turned back, giving me an apologetic look. Indeed, once she had apologized once, it became easier to do it a second time. Sophia looked at me nervously and said, James, I'm sorry, but something serious has happened with David. I have to go now. I quietly looked at Sophia and deliberately asked her if you could only choose one between us. I almost thought she was going to choose me, but Sophia frowned and continued, stop joking around, okay? David and I are just friends. I promise I'll be back later. And with that, she left. I didn't try to stop her because I had already let go. Fortunately, she made that choice because I had made the same choice in my heart. Sophia, this 10-year-long affection, this 5-year relationship, has come to an end. As you wished, I will give you your freedom, and I no longer owe anything to the Sophia family. In the beginning, perhaps Sophia didn't truly love me but kept me around because I was useful to her. More precisely, I was useful to the company. Now that I'm no longer useful and might even overshadow her, becoming a stumbling block, Sophia's father forced her to marry me and give me 10% of the company's shares. Even though I said I could do a prenuptial agreement and wouldn't take any shares from the Sophia family, she still guarded against me everywhere. Once at a banquet, someone jokingly tried to recruit me, and Sophia publicly turned against them, making them extremely embarrassed. At that time, I thought she truly cared about me. But it wasn't that at all. She was afraid I would switch jobs, so she wanted to cut off all my escape routes and trap me in a cage woven with love. Sophia neither let me go nor treated me well, just using me as a tool for her to seize power in the company. I looked out the window at the drizzling rain and remembered the love song Sophia and David sang together. Even if the heavy rain turns the whole city upside down, I'll give you a hug. Can't stand to see your back coming towards me. I was born tone deaf and would go off key even with the simplest nursery rhymes, so I was doomed to never sing a duet with Sophia. I couldn't speak sweet nothings, didn't understand romance, couldn't draw a dazzling star map, and couldn't give Sophia the love she wanted. I took out my phone and slowly typed a resignation letter in the Notes app. On WeChat, a stranger sent me a message, "James, are you okay?" Their username was Ziji, and their profile picture was a pure white gardenia oil painting, which reminded me of the tattoo on my body. I suspected it was a secondary account of Sophia's and checked their moments, only to find it was that green tea man, David. His latest post, from 2 hours ago, read, "Getting to eat porridge made by Sophia's own hands makes life worth living again." It was then that I realized Sophia could cook. In the 5 years we were together, she had never cooked for me once. At first, we were both busy, so we either ordered takeout or had a housekeeper cook for us. In the past 2 years, I had become less busy and started learning to cook for her. It turned out that true feelings indeed cannot be exchanged for true feelings. I replied to David, "Don't worry, I'm still waiting to attend your funeral. I'm not dying." He didn't respond again. Just as I was about to delete this annoying contact, I had no idea when I added, Sophia's call came in. As soon as I answered, I heard her scold, "James, are you crazy? He was just being nice by asking how you were. Why did you curse him? If you can't speak nicely, then just shut your mouth." I didn't want to listen anymore and directly said, "Sophia, we're breaking up." She hung up immediately and blocked me. I sincerely wish those two would stay together and stop messing with other people's lives. After sending out the resignation email, I booked a moving company for the next day. Since Sophia didn't respond, I didn't try to contact her. After all, if she didn't come to me, I could just go to the company and talk to her in person. The next morning, after I checked out of the hospital and returned to the villa, I was packing my things when I heard the front door open and Sophia's crying voice, "James, James." I walked out of the room, and she stumbled towards me, "My dad, he's in critical condition. He was resuscitated last night and is still in the ICU, not awake yet. I've been trying to contact you all day. Your phone was off, and I couldn't find you at the hospital. The doctor said you were discharged. Why didn't you answer my calls? Do you have any idea how scared I was?" I was taken aback and checked my phone, which was indeed on silent mode. There were several missed calls. "Don't cry. I'll go with you to see your dad." Sophia clung tightly to my waist, and I could feel her trembling. "James, I'm so scared that I might not have my dad anymore." I sighed and comforted her, "It won't come to that. Your father is such a good person, he'll be fine." I stopped Sophia from driving. I had seen how recklessly she drove when she was upset. At the hospital, we waited in the lounge. I told her to rest for a while, and I would keep an eye on things. Sophia nodded and leaned her head on my shoulder. I glanced down and saw her heavy dark circles. I didn't have the heart to push her away. It didn't matter anyway. I didn't feel anything anymore, my heart was already dead. Now, I was just worried about Sophia's father's condition. He had donated money for my heart surgery and sponsored my education. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him my second father. Over the past 2 years, I had been hurt by Sophia, but I still stayed with her, unable to leave. Besides the lingering affection, there was another important reason. Sophia's father had always been in poor health, and I didn't want to upset him. Sophia suddenly asked me, "Are you still mad at me?" "No," I replied. No matter what she did, who she was with, or who she made porridge for, it was none of my business anymore. Sophia seemed to sense my intention to break up and said, "No matter what happens, let's wait until my dad gets better before we talk about anything. I can't handle any more shocks right now." I slowly said, "Okay." I didn't understand why she didn't have David with her, but I didn't ask. It would seem like I still cared. 3 days later, Sophia's father came out of the danger zone and woke up. He met with me alone, holding my hand and saying, "James, I know you've been wronged these past few years." I shook my head and said, "I haven't been wronged." Sophia's father continued, "It's not a gentlemanly act to repay kindness with grievances." But I didn't stop Sophia back then because I was really not in good health, and I knew her all too well. Sophia couldn't handle those old foxes in the company, and I had no choice. I nodded and said, "I understand." He patted my hand and went on, "I haven't approached you about the engagement party because I felt ashamed. I'm aware of how Sophia has treated you these past 2 years. I've tried to reason with her, but she's stubborn. She's been spoiled since her mother passed away early, and I indulged her too much. I know it's been hard for you to be with her." I simply said, "It's not hard. I've gotten used to it. Swallowing all the bitterness is something I chose to do. I should pay the price for my own choices." Sophia's father sighed regretfully, "When you two first came to see me, the way you looked at her was full of light. But now..." He looked at me tentatively and then sighed again. "I'd been through a near-death experience and let go of my attachments. I don't want you two to become a quarreling couple, but I have one request. Don't blame me, okay? Forgive my selfishness. They say a man doesn't cry easily, but that's because he hasn't been hurt enough. At that moment, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. It felt like a heavy burden in my heart had been lifted, and I was finally free to breathe. From now on, I could truly be myself, without having to please anyone or feel indebted to anyone. I nodded firmly at Sophia's father and said, "Thank you, really thank you." He smiled kindly and looked at me with affection. "James, you're a good kid. You'll be blessed in the future. I decided to sponsor you because you're outstanding and deserve it. Don't feel like you owe anything to the Sophia family. Even if you did, you've more than paid it off in these 5 years. Remember, when facing Sophia in the future, stand tall. You've always been equal." At that moment, a warm current surged through my heart. When my grievances were acknowledged and soothed, I finally understood what a healthy relationship should be like. I placed the talisman I had painstakingly obtained from the temple under his pillow. "Uncle, I wish you a speedy recovery. Goodbye." After returning to the villa, I continued packing my belongings. When the moving company I had rescheduled arrived, Sophia happened to drive back. She aggressively blocked my way and demanded, "James, what do you mean by this?" I suddenly realized that although I had already given up on her in my heart and made up my mind to break up, I had never formally said it to her. So, I said solemnly, "Sophia, we're breaking up." Sophia looked shocked and angry as she glared at me. "James, say that again." I replied helplessly, "You heard me." Sophia said indignantly, "How dare you? What gives you the right to break up with me? If it weren't for the Sophia family, you would have died. If it weren't for—" I interrupted her. "The one who did me a favor was your father, not you. If he asked me to repay him, I would gladly do so. But if I'm supposed to sacrifice my marriage and my entire well-being to repay a favor, I'm sorry, I'm not willing." Sophia glared at me and asked, "Is it because of David? If I say I don't like him now and just consider him a friend?" I smiled and responded, "What kind of friend has no sense of boundaries?" Sophia said tearfully, "If you don't like it, I can stay away from him in the future." I looked at her and after a while, I replied, "Sophia, are you trying to keep me now?" Sure enough, as soon as she heard this, she immediately became agitated. "James, don't think you're so great. If you leave today, don't ever think about coming back in this life." I remained unmoved, and she continued, "David has been staying in a hotel since he returned to the country. If you leave, I'll let him move in here." Did Sophia really think that such a provocation would still work on me? I waved my hand and responded, "Do as you please. By the way, when you have time, check your mailbox and reply to my resignation email." Sophia stood there stunned as I left. Love is mutual, one-sided affection never lasts long. When I arrived at the company, I began to hand over my work. For the entire week, Sophia was in a low mood. During the board meetings, everyone dared not breathe heavily, and several employees were fired for minor mistakes. On my last day, as I was packing up to leave, Sophia called me into her office. With red eyes, Sophia said, "James, you've won. Tell me, what will it take for you not to break up, not to resign, and just stay by my side?" I suspected Sophia was having a fit of madness and replied indifferently, "If there's nothing else, I'll leave now. The resignation procedures have already been completed." Sophia abruptly stood up from her chair and shouted, "James." At that moment, the office door was suddenly pushed open. David, who was clearly dressed up, looked even more handsome in his well-fitted suit. His silver hair, paired with rimless glasses, looked good even to me, who didn't understand fashion. He was holding a lunchbox, the kind commonly used by the family's cook, which meant he had indeed moved in. I turned around, ready to give them some space. But Sophia said to David, "David, James and I still have things to discuss. You should go back first." The disappointment on David's face was evident. So I said, "We've said everything that needed to be said. There's nothing left to talk about. I'll leave now." David, however, stopped me. With his charming eyes sparkling, he said, "James, don't get the wrong idea. Sophia and I really have nothing going on. We're just friends. She took me in out of pity. Don't argue because of me, or I'll feel really bad. Besides, I'm leaving the country soon, and I really hope to see you two make up before I go." I smiled and said, "Right, you two are just friends who can kiss. It's my problem. I'm too particular and old-fashioned to accept you joining our family, so I choose to step aside." David looked wronged and said, "You? How can you say that? It's bad enough that you misunderstand me, but to speak so harshly about Sophia? She'll be hurt." "Hurt? That's assuming she has a heart," I said, covering my mouth and continuing, "Stop talking. I find it disgusting and nauseating when a man speaks like that." David looked at Sophia with a hurt expression, but to his surprise, she said, "David, get out." After David left reluctantly, Sophia slowly said, "There's really nothing between him and me. David has severe depression. 2 days before our engagement, he called me to say goodbye before attempting suicide. That's why I went to Los Angeles without telling anyone. David asked me to keep it a secret, which is why I never mentioned it. He came back to clear his mind, and since his best friend in the country is me, I took care of him a bit more, also fearing that he might do something drastic again." I responded coldly, "Sophia, you don't need to explain to me. We have no relationship anymore. James, I've already explained. What more do you want from me?" She seemed genuinely unable to understand why I was so determined to break up with her. So, I decided to be clearer. "Sophia, I don't love you anymore." At that moment, the office fell silent. Sophia asked in surprise, "What did you say?" I nodded and said, "I don't love you anymore." "When did it start?" She stared at me, seemingly unwilling to accept it and determined to get to the bottom of it. I couldn't remember. Maybe it was when you threw a tantrum and almost killed me with alcohol. Maybe it was when you let David kiss you and sing love songs in front of me. Or maybe it was when you ruined our engagement party. Perhaps it was even earlier, in the past 2 years, every time you vented your bad temper at me and every instance of your indifference, all of which gradually drained my love for you. Afraid of losing you and unsure of what I had done wrong, I hadn't slept well for 2 years. My severe insomnia was why I overheard your phone call in the middle of the night. Because I was so insecure, my love for you was extremely submissive. Sophia didn't know that the day she went to see David, I had my gardenia tattoo washed off. The process still hurt, even more than when I got it, yet she never noticed. The news of my resignation spread quickly in the industry, and many companies extended offers to me, but I turned them all down. I had already set my sights on a company in Miami, to which I had sent my resume and was awaiting a response. Soon, the general manager contacted me personally. After confirming my start date, I had a few gatherings with friends. One time, as Mark and I were leaving a restaurant, Sophia was standing at the entrance. It had started snowing without our notice, and her face and nose were red from the cold. Mark nudged my arm and said, "If you dare to fall for her again and get back together, we're done." I smiled and replied, "Don't worry, that won't happen." As we were about to leave, laughing and chatting, Sophia called out to me, "James, can we talk again?" Her voice, carried by the cold wind, sounded somewhat pitiful. I took an umbrella from my car, opened it, and handed it to her, saying indifferently, "There's no need." Sophia looked at me and cried, "James, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I can't do anything without you. You're all I think about. I know I've had a bad temper these past 2 years because of David, and I really hurt you. I promise I won't be willful anymore, I won't make you sad again, and I'll keep my distance from other guys, okay? James, can you give me another chance?" Tears streamed down her face, crystal clear. I stood there, unmoved, like an outsider. Before I could say anything, Mark came over, put his arm around my shoulders, and mocked, "Sophia, are you okay? Did your child die and now you're trying to nurse it back to health? Or are you just desperate and trying to go back to what you once had? How pathetic. Last year, when my buddy had his birthday, you went gallivanting around the country with your so-called friends. The year before, at the trade fair, he worked himself to exhaustion and fainted from heatstroke. Did you even come to see him once? I don't even want to mention these things. Let me warn you, if you want to get back together with James, I'm the first one who won't allow it. You're harder to get rid of than a stubborn cold. We finally got rid of you, and I won't let you cling to James again. If you harass him again, I'll call the police." I held back the agitated Mark and said to Sophia, "My friend's attitude is my attitude." She held the umbrella, looking at me dejectedly, and said, "When you were bullied by my friends, did you feel this upset too?" "It's all in the past," Mark said, pulling me away. On the way, Mark kept complaining to me, "Better late than never, love is as worthless as grass. What else is there to say between you two? Those who only realize the value of something after losing it deserve what they get." On the day I flew to Miami, I posted a message on my social media. Sophia's comment suddenly appeared below, "James, I have something really important to tell you. Wait for me a little longer, I'll be there soon." I blocked all of Sophia's contact information. This time, I wouldn't stop for anyone. James at 28 was going to live a life truly his own. Later, I heard that on the day I left, Sophia, dressed in a wedding gown and driving a sports car, had rushed to the airport to stop me and propose. But because she was driving too fast, she had a car accident on the way. Fortunately, she didn't hit anyone, and she was fine. The truth about David's depression also spread from abroad to our country. It turned out that he had plagiarized other people's paintings and was banned in the art circle.
Moreover, David had a chaotic personal life abroad and had been kept by wealthy women.
Perhaps he initially had an artistic dream, but later he couldn't resist the temptations and lived a life of luxury abroad. He didn't have depression at all, he was just morally corrupt. Desperate, he sought out Sophia, knowing she had once had a crush on him and that she was now the CEO of the Sophia family, a golden lake he could rely on. So he pretended to attempt suicide and called Sophia, trying to sow discord between us after returning to the country in an attempt to cling to her. As for whether Sophia had ever wavered in this relationship, only she knows for sure. My answer doesn't matter because we were destined to part ways, with or without David. However, I did have a friend abroad investigate David, as a final favor to the Sophia family. Sophia, with her spoiled nature, couldn't tolerate being deceived. Later, it was revealed that David had a gambling addiction and was in debt, living a life on the run.
Sophia's influence was likely behind this. Sophia didn't fare much better.
Due to a series of poor decisions, the company's reputation declined, plagued by negative news, and the prospect of going public seemed increasingly distant.
3 years later, I had risen to the position of vice president at the Miami company.
When I returned to New York, the city's young master hosted a banquet to welcome me. A year earlier, I had facilitated a cooperation between his family's business and the largest real estate developer in Miami.
While I was socializing, someone approached me from behind. "Mr. James, may I have a word with you?"
I turned around and saw one of Sophia's former friends. Before I could respond, the young master said, "Today's banquet is to welcome my friend.
Don't make things uncomfortable for yourself. Go away."
The person left reluctantly. In the restroom, I overheard him on the phone. "Damn it, if I had known James would be this successful, I shouldn't have fawned over Sophia back then.
I should have just fawned over James. It's too late now.
We ignored him yesterday, and today we can't even reach him." No wonder Sophia didn't come to the banquet, she was afraid of losing face. But even if she tries to deceive herself, everyone in the industry knows now she's a nobody. Without James, the Sophia family would never have grown so big. Now she's cut him loose, and look where the Sophia family is finished. Her reputation is shattered. If it weren't for her bad-mouthing James behind his back, saying he's incompetent but obedient, we wouldn't have believed her and looked down on James, thinking he's just a gold digger. When he came out, I had just finished washing my hands. I glanced at him in the mirror and slowly said, "Your habit of speaking ill of others still hasn't changed, has it?" He responded awkwardly, "I'm sorry, Mr. James." I took the paper towel he handed me, carefully dried my hands, and didn't bother to look at him again.
As for his company, I had already blacklisted it. I can be quite vindictive.
After the banquet, as I returned to my hotel, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time standing downstairs. Sophia. She turned around, and I noticed a scar on her forehead.
I thought she had come to ask me to save the Sophia family.
But to my surprise, she said, "James, I'm leaving. I'm going to a foreign convalescent home with my dad. Although the company is not as prosperous as before, it's still big. I've handed it over to capable people to manage." I didn't know what to say and just made a sound of acknowledgement. Her expression was calm, but her eyes couldn't hide her sorrow. Her voice trembled as she said, "You must have wondered why I chose to be with you but treated you so poorly, right?"
I didn't respond.
After a long while, she continued, "It's because of jealousy, James.
I've been jealous of you since I was little. No matter how hard I tried or how many tutors I had, I could never be as good as you. My dad always praised you at home, and I've been secretly competing with you since I was young. One day, I wanted to see for myself what kind of person you were, so I followed my dad to the orphanage. You know, you shouldn't have looked at me with such an unabashedly admiring gaze. It gave me the upper hand right away. No matter how excellent you are, you still didn't dare to touch the hem of my skirt. Your cautiousness greatly pleased my insecure self back then. That's why, after you graduated from college, I had you by my side. I was jealous of your excellence, but I also gained a lot from you. Once the company stabilized, I felt you weren't as useful anymore, and your presence constantly reminded me that I was a failure, someone who could only rely on a man. I couldn't help but lose my temper with you, deliberately humiliating you, just to gain a sense of balance. The night before our engagement, I overheard you talking to a friend on the phone, saying you weren't sure if getting engaged was the right choice. That call was because I had already sensed that there was a big problem in our relationship. I thought you regretted it, and I couldn't, nor did I want to, be a failure in love either. Rather than wait for you to leave me, I decided to leave first. So I used that phone call as an excuse to run to Los Angeles. I really just considered him a friend and was deceived by his depression, feeling sorry for him. When you canceled the engagement, I was very angry. I got the answer that you didn't love me as much as I thought. I confirmed it.
So I couldn't help but lose my temper with you again, deliberately seeking out James, and deliberately having a cold war with you. You used to coax me, but that time you didn't coax me anymore.
Your calmness really made me angry. Your indifference towards me made me couldn't resist the urge to hurt you.
I deliberately let them humiliate you, played flirtatious games with James on purpose, and intentionally made you drink. But you wouldn't say a single word to yield. The day you had a gastric hemorrhage, I was truly terrified of losing you. I didn't want to keep testing how much love you still had for me.
However, your eyes clearly told me that you no longer loved me. I was afraid of hearing you say you wanted to break up, so I went to David.
I knew he had posted something on Moments, but you simply didn't care.
I didn't want to keep lowering my head time and time again, but when my father was critically ill, you were the only one I could turn to. When you resigned, I was very angry.
I wondered if you were deliberately taking revenge on me.
Actually, I was quite scared of you leaving.
I was afraid that something might go wrong before the company went public, so I pleaded with you humbly. But the moment I heard you say you didn't like me in person, I felt as if the sky had fallen and couldn't utter any words to persuade you to stay.
Every day after you left, I was at a loss.
It seemed that all of a sudden, I didn't know what I wanted anymore. When we were at school, I regarded you as my imaginary rival and compared my grades with yours. When we were working, I relied on you while being jealous of you at the same time. Because I had so many negative emotions towards you, I forgot this little thing that I loved you too. By the time I realized it, I could no longer catch up with your steps.
Sophia touched her forehead and continued, I deliberately kept this scar to remind myself all the time how stupid I was and what I had missed.
James, I decided to tell you these things, not to try to get you back or to atone for my sins, but just to let you know that during our 5-year relationship, you didn't do anything wrong. You were wonderful, and it was me who was not good enough.
After the breakup, it's my turn to have sleepless nights. Don't pity me.
This is what I deserve. I hope that after the breakup, you can sleep well every night and no longer need to take sleeping pills.
I want to tell you that I loved you. Well, James, goodbye. Sophia turned around and slowly walked into the night.
I stood there, looking at her back for a long time. There were so many things I wanted to say, but it seemed that there was nothing to say. In the end, our love ended in a lose-lose situation, and we both had to move on. Once, Sophia hoped that I couldn't be happy without her, but every night after the breakup was a truly good night for me. Finally, I just said softly, goodbye. The little thing of having loved her had indeed been in the past for a long time.